Possibly. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is if you guys go to Canvas, Baylor Canvas, and if you go to projects, or not projects, sorry, Unit 2, click on Unit 2. If you click on Unit 2 in-class workbook blank, you will literally be able to follow along in class with me. If you click on Unit 2 in-class workbook 1, that's all the answers to everything that we're doing in class. Sound good? So if you miss class, you can be like, okay, here's the answers. Okay, is that really going to benefit you to only have the answers? No. Okay, so I downloaded it, and when I have in-class workbook blank, this is going to pop up. Okay, this is Unit 2 in-class workbook blank, and it starts out with the probability tree that I already handed out to you. And then you can go to Unit 2 vocab. The really cool thing about this is on the left-hand side, you're going to see I have all the vocabulary grouped together by topic. Okay, so probability distributions are down here, rules of multiplication and counting are right here, rules of addition. I have everything grouped together. Okay, then on the right-hand side, I put this on here on accident, and you're like, no, you didn't put this on here on accident. What you all don't know is I accidentally sent out an exam to an entire class via GroupMe on accident, and I had to spend the entire night putting together a new exam. I do stuff on accident all the time, so just make sure that you're always checking GroupMe, because I might actually accidentally send you the exam with all the answers. So this right here is what I actually had for examples on my last exam. So I had these examples, and I said, match it with this term. Match it with these terms. So what I'd suggest is you go through here, and you're like, hey, this is the example, and I need to match it with that term. And for a lot of y'all, it would actually really benefit you to write your own examples, okay? Then moving on, I want to show you guys descriptive data. So this is what I did. This data right here, this is from the data set, the fastest growing companies in the past 10 years. Okay, every year they have like, or it might even be longer than that, they have 5,000 companies that they track. This corporation has 5,000 companies that they track every year. So this is the revenue in the states from those companies in the past like 12 or so years. So all that I did, I went to my data set and I only copied the state and the revenue. Now the reason why this is so important to you guys is this is your project that you're doing. Okay, so what I'm going over right now is exactly what you're doing, the exact requirements. When I say the exact requirements, I mean the exact requirements for your project. Copy and paste two variables, one qualitative variable, one quantitative variable, copy and paste the entire column, so you can literally just do this. You can highlight the entire column by clicking on A, and press Control-C, and then you click it again. You go into that workbook, and then you click on A again, and press Control-V. Then you click on this one, whichever one you want, Control-C, then you come in here, Control-V, and you got all the data. Now, do you guys remember when I required you to install that super cool software, that add-on for Excel? You guys remember that? You guys were like, hey, this is so much fun. So this is what you're going to do. We're going to highlight this column, this fun column, and I am going to go to Data. And I'm going to go to Data Analysis. Okay, and this right here, there's a ton of different things that you can do, but the one thing that we need to do is Descriptive Statistics. So we're going to click on Descriptive Statistics, and I'm going to say, okay, I want the data in this row right here, okay? And I am going to put the label in the first row. That means that revenue is a label in the first row. And then for the output range, you can either put it in a new workbook, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I want the output range right about... I'm going to delete that. I'm going to put it right there. Okay, D7, and then go ahead and click Summary Statistics, Confidence Levels. You can change the confidence level. And then I want the 5th largest number and the 5th smallest number, and then press OK. And it might take a second. And the reason why, do you guys want to know why? Because it is looking at over 60,000 pieces of data. Now, I want to straight up tell y'all something, and it says not responding. Okay? If you've got a situation like this where it's not responding, I am perfectly okay with you deleting 50,000 data points, if you have 60,000 data points, I'm perfectly okay with you deleting 50,000 data points and running it just on 10,000, just so it'll run. Okay? You guys tracking with me? All right, because it might take a little while. Is it taking a little while? Yeah, it's taking a little while. It'll pop up in a second. So I'm okay with you doing that. So descriptive statistics, it's going to pop up in just a second, and I'm going to show you that. Now on the bottom, you're going to see classical and empirical. You're going to see rules of addition, rules of multiplication, contingency table, principles of counting, and if you keep on going down, all the way down to the end, there is literally a tab for every single thing that we're going through in this unit, okay? And so if you want to, you can literally follow along with everything that we're doing in this unit, and it's still loading, which is really annoying. I feel your pain. I really do, because this computer right here is pretty much the exact same computer that's in the computer labs, and I've got a feeling that maybe I shouldn't have just highlighted all of column B. I should have highlighted all 60,000 cells instead. But it is what it is. So while I'm working on that, still loading. So descriptive statistics pops up just like that. And so if your computer is a little bit slower, if your computer might not have quite as much computing power, like I said, it's okay for you to delete a certain number of statistics just to make it a little bit easier. Now, I want to show you guys right in here, mean, standard deviation, or standard error, median, mode. When you run descriptive statistics, it literally runs it on like everything, and it gives you all of the information. So I'd encourage you guys, when you encounter data in this class, just keep on running descriptive statistics over and over again, okay? Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a pivot table. Insert pivot table, and I've got all that information, and I'm going to put it into an existing sheet. I'm going to put it into classical and empirical. For you guys, you're going to put it into a slightly different one, but I'm going to go all the way down to V, and the reason why, whoops, it's already there. I'm going to put it in AA, existing worksheet, and press OK. So I'm going to delete all this. Give me a second. Okay, so I'm going to put it right there, and now I'm going to press OK. And then while I'm at it, I'm going to delete that. So I've got this pivot table right here. Is that a pretty pivot table? No? Okay, so I'm going to start with state. I'm going to put the state right there, and I am going to put the values right there. And so I've got count of states, and I've got all these states right here. How many states are there? 50, but there's also 2 provinces in here. There's 2 provinces in here, and also when you guys see this fun little blank, when you see blank, just click on it and do filter and say hide selected item. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sort the count of state. I'm going to sort from largest to smallest. And what if I only want to keep the top 20? Okay, what should I do if I only want to keep the top 20? There's a couple ways to do this, okay? And I'm going to show you the more complicated way to do it right now, okay? You ready? I'm going to highlight all of these that are the 32 least frequent areas, and I'm going to right-click on it, and I'm going to click Group. And it's going to have some stuff pop up sometimes. Do I want to replace it? Just click No. And so I created a group right here, and then sometimes it'll just automatically group the other one, but the other times you might need to highlight all the ones that weren't in group 1, highlight them and say right click and put them into a group 2. So I'm going to rename group 1, and I'm going to say low frequency, and then group 2 I'm going to refer to as high frequency. Okay, so high frequency and low frequency. Okay. And so I've got these frequencies, and the really cool thing about this is we did not get rid of any data. Did we get rid of any data? No, we did not get rid of any data. Even cooler, you guys ready? Low frequency is now just considered a class. Low frequency is a class. And so now I am going to put state right here, count of state 2, and I'm going to change this. So I just dragged it into there, and I'm going to show values as percent of column total. And now I have the relative frequency right here. Now, should I put relative frequency right here? Is that what I should put? Okay, we're no longer going to put relative frequency. We're going to put another term, and it starts with an empirical and ends with a what? Probability. So this is the empirical probability of occurrence. The empirical probability of occurrence, so I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to bring it over here, paste it right there. Whoops. I copied too much. There we go. Control C, and I'm going to paste it right there. So we've got the empirical probability right there, and then we've got the counts, and then we've got the actual states right there, the actual outcomes. Okay. So next thing that we need to do, what was the other variable that I chose? It's right there. Revenue. Very good. Revenue. So I'm going to put revenue. I'm going to make a frequency table for revenue. Now, you guys literally already did this once. Did you guys already do this once? So if you already did this once, can you just copy and paste it and put it right into here? You can. Okay. You can. And so I'm perfectly okay with that. Now, when you guys do your frequency table with your quantitative data, how many of y'all, you watched my videos and you were like, hey, I see that it worked perfectly for yours, but your data is really clean, my data is really messy. Are y'all feeling that? Okay, so I intentionally ungroup. I'm going to ungroup, and I'm going to click no, no, no. Okay, I intentionally have really messy data this time. So I've got all this data, I've got 60,000 some odd things, and I am now going to group it in a different way. If I go back to the descriptive data and I say max minus min equals maximum minus minimum, it gives you the range. Okay. Now if I do the equals the range divided by, let's just say we want 20 classes. Does that sound good? Control C, Control V. What do you guys think about that, the class interval? That class interval. Does that look like a good class interval? Okay, but I'm going to run with it. I'm going to see what happens when I use this class interval. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, Control C. I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to say Group. Starting at there, going down to here, and I'm going to go by Control V, press OK. Do I want to replace it? No, no. Okay. What do you guys think of that? Does that look good? Is it technically correct? Technically it's correct, but it's absolutely horrible, isn't it? It's absolutely horrible. And so when you guys see this, what I want you to do is just play around with it a little bit. Play around with it until it kind of, the data sits the way that you want it to sit. So I'm going to click on this again, and I'm going to do group. And I don't know, I actually did a little bit of work on this a little bit earlier, and the lowest value that I want is going to be 20 million. Okay, 20 million. And then the highest one is going to be 400 million. And then I want it to go by, there we go. Actually, I think it's going to be 2 million. Let's try this. Oops. Okay. Does that look better? Okay. How many classes are there? 21 classes. Is it okay to do what I just did? What's unique about what I just did? It's okay to do what I just did, but are there clear, definable classes? Or is there are there two classes that aren't quite as clearly defined? Right? And the reason why I have two classes that are not quite as clearly defined is because these outliers are really far out there. Okay? And so it just makes no sense. It's like, hey, you know what? I see that out there, but it's really bad. So I don't want to deal with it. And so I'm going to spread it out like this. And then I'm going to put revenue right here. and it's going to say count of revenue. Make sure it says count and it doesn't say sum. It needs to say count. And then I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to say show values as percent of column total. Percent of column total. And right here we have now what's referred to as our probability distribution. Okay, and this right here is the empirical probability. The empirical probability, and then the count. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to press Control X, go all the way over to the left-hand side, and click where it says revenue. We've got all of the classes right there. We've got the empirical probability on the right-hand side. We've got the count on the left, and we've got the classes right here. So how many classes are there in each one of these? Let me give you a hint. It starts with a 2 and ends with a 1. You get out at 345, right? Just making sure. 345. So there's 21 classes, and there, if you look down at the bottom, there's 6,204 observations. 6,205 observations, which means that there's some blanks somewhere. So for state, 6,204, and then 6,205 observations. And then coming down here, whoops, I already have this. What you're going to do in this part is you are going to determine, you've got all this information right here. You're going to determine two possible outcomes. Two possible outcomes that you care about. Like for instance, some of you guys might really care about the fact that your state is not up here. The state that you live in, it's not up here. So you're like, hey, what if I was in a low frequency state? What if I was in a state that doesn't have a really high frequency of fast growing companies like mine? I'm from Wisconsin. Wisconsin is not up here. That's okay. I'm okay with that. But somehow Minnesota's up here, but Wisconsin's not. So I really care about this low frequency. What is the classical probability of being in a low frequency state? What do you guys think? Compared to all the high frequency states. How many total possible outcomes are there? How many total possible outcomes are there? You're either going to be in one of the top 20 most frequent states, or you're going to be in a low frequency state. You're either going to be in one of the top 20 high frequency states, or you're going to be in a low frequency state. How many possible outcomes are there? 21. Y'all see that? Because I lumped everyone from a low frequency state into one class. Everyone from a low frequency state is in just one class. So what is the classical probability of being in a low frequency state? It's going to be equals 1 divided by 21, which is 0.0476. Okay. How many classes are right here? We're going to copy this. Control C, Control V. How many classes are right here? 21. So what is the classical probability of, well, we'll get there in a minute. So what is the classical probability of being from the state of Texas? Same thing, it's going to be 1 out of 21. So I'm just going to copy it and paste it. Okay, same thing with right here. What is the classical probability of being in this class right here, the 20,000 or 2 million all the way up to 4 million? What is the classical probability? 1 out of 21. And then what's the classical probability of being in this one right here? Greater than 40 million? Same thing. Is that kind of cool? Just classical probability, 1 out of the total number of possible outcomes. Now, for empirical probability, what is the empirical probability of being in a low frequency state? You're close. It's not 16.68. 0.1668. So I'm going to copy it. I'm going to press Control C, and I'm going to press Control V, and it does say it right there, but I'll fix it in just a minute. What is the empirical probability of being in a company that's from the state of Texas that's fast growing? 0.0815. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put that right there. And then what's the empirical probability of being in this group right here? Yep, 0.18722. Control C, Control V, And then what's the empirical probability of being right here? Now that I just covered that up. 0.1776. So I just copied and pasted it, and now all that I've got to do is highlight this and say, I want to change it to a number. And give me an extra decimal. Okay, give me 3 decimal places. So that's how you do classical and empirical for the project. So what I would highly suggest is that before the next class, you guys work on that and get that done for your data. Because if you have that done for your data, everything else for the entire unit rests on that. So you guys are going to come back. We're going to focus on the next one, and then we'll focus on the rule of multiplication. Then we'll focus on contingency tables, so on and so forth. But if you have that set up before class, you're going to be really solid.